Namaskar. Mr. Vice Chancellor of the Cotton University, our good friend, Professor Ramesh Chandra Deka, Professor Manoranjan Mohanty, an inspiration for generations of students, research scholars, and generations of social activists, political activists engaged in social transformation, qualitative social transformation. Professor Hiren Gohain, the vanguard of collective conscience of our times, invited guests, trustees of Brahmaputra Institute of Research and Development, my colleagues and friends from social science research community, students, scholars, and ladies and gentlemen. It has been a great occasion for us that we have assembled here to celebrate the achievements and contributions of Professor Hiren Gohain as a public intellectual, and also in fostering intellectual enrichments for ecologically sensitive development, a harmonious society, and also continuously unfolding the contradictions that a society has been struggling to overcome. My friends, I'll not make it very long, but I'll try to focus on Professor Hiren Gohain making of a public intellectual. I'll be trying to focus on a few particular issues or particular dimensions. When we think of Hiren Gohain, what exactly comes to our mind? And when we read Hiren Gohain, what exactly we try to understand or we are being enlightened with? All of we know that Professor Gohain started in the domain of public, he started as a literary critic. And if you remember, Sahityor Hoityo, the first essay, is on Ambika Giri Rai Chaudhury's Manobayaton. And he has a very important essay on F.R. Lewis or Gobhirata. Now, if you read that particular essay, Professor Gohain says that while writing on Ambika Giri Rai Chaudhury, he was deeply influenced by F.R. Lewis. Now, who is F.R. Lewis? All of you, many of you know that an English critic who had a very comprehensive essay on Shakespeare. I don't understand literature. I'm just trying to learn from whatever Professor Hiren Gohain has written. Now, remember, all of you know Professor Gohain as a Marxist scholar, Marxist theorist, Marxist intellectual. But very interestingly, he continues to refer to F.R. Lewis, and I'll talk about that. Now, this is interesting. Why has he taken F.R. Lewis very seriously, very comprehensively? In his introduction and long introduction to his book, Assam, a burning question, where he has included his all-important English articles on Assam movement, starting with Kajal of Chauvinism and so on and so forth, he said that his social inquiry has been influenced by what he has called scientific outlook. Now, what constitutes this scientific outlook? He says that scientific outlook is all about continuously inquiring into the social realities, trying to address the contradictions and complexities, and also to strive to come out of those contradictions, liberation. Therefore, F.R. Lewis, 1962, his essay on Ambika Giri Rai Chaudhury was published in 1962. Now, 6 decades, we are celebrating the 6 decades of his writing of Professor Gohain as a literary critic. Now, therefore, F.R. Lewis' concept of the scientific outlook or his understanding of scientific outlook has continuously inspired Professor Gohain to question, to look into the social realities. Therefore, whether you look at his literary criticisms or his involvement or his engagement in unfolding political developments in Assam, in Northeast India, in the country, and in the entire globe, we find that he has always been driven by this scientific outlook, and he continues to be. Therefore, his critique of the current regime is not necessarily driven only by the class perspective. Class perspective is very strong in him, but he has been driven by the enlightened liberal intellectual's vision of a liberal democratic that enriches our rights, that helps in bringing in social equality, freedom, liberty, justice, and so on and so forth. But remember, we have a very fragmented understanding about Professor Gohain. I think that's the problem that lies with many of us, because Professor Gohain's writings have been so extensive. He started as a literary critic, and gradually he got involved into the kind of political realities that we live in. He has started theorizing them, and also continuously unfolding the contradictions. Now, if you see his writings, for example, very recently, thanks to Katha and Sunit Vijay Das, the third volume of his collected writings, Assamese writings, has come up. That includes 10 of his books, basically based on literary criticism. It's so expansive. It has articles on, Ambikagiri Rai Chaudhuri, I have mentioned, Hiren Gohain, Syed Abdul Malik, Shakespeare, Rabindranath Tagore. I think Rabindranath Tagore, he has taken so seriously. And if you read them critically, there are some very interesting things. Somewhere he says that when Rabindranath became a saint, Vishwaguru, he has gradually lost his touch with the people. Kind of liberating, kind of vision and potentialities that he talked about was probably under erosion. He has essays on Gandhi written in late 1960s. He was so critical about Gandhi, looking at from class perspective. And if you have listened to Professor Gohain very recently, he has been telling that probably we have not understood Gandhi properly because we are looking at only from the class perspective, and we are not understanding the kind of human relationship that Professor Mohanty has mentioned, mutuality that Professor Mohanty has mentioned today. Therefore, Professor Gohain has started talking about that the history in our own life, that Gandhi has become so important. Coming back to his literary criticism, and I'll give you a few very interesting, writings, particularly on our literary giants. When I was hearing about his critique on Hiren Gohain's Pitaputra, Hiren Gohain Pitaputra, Erabarir Binoni, I was taken aback. How can Hiren Gohain's Pitaputra can be called Erabarir Binoni? I was taken aback. But when I started reading it, I realized that the literature that Professor Gohain defines is something different from very literary giants have defined. For him, literacy is about human essence, human experience, human struggle, and human liberation. Remember, when you say human, it's not necessarily human alone. He has Uronia Hahor Mat, where he talks about the convergence between the human essence and the ecology. Therefore, when you look at him as a public intellectual, we need to understand that scientific outlook, human essence, human experience, human struggle, and aspiration for a qualitative transformation of the society constitute the core. And that is evident not only in his political writings, but also in his literary writings. Let me just read out Bastobor Sopno, his book, in the introduction, what he has written. I quote, "Kintu Bastobor Odhyan mane ki kebol niroh toithor talika. বুৰ্জোৱা চিন্তাৰ অন্যতম দেউলীয়া বিশ্বাস হ'ল বাস্তৱ আৰু কল্পনাৰ মাজত দুৰ্লঙ্ঘ ব্যৱধান। বৈজ্ঞানিক আৰু সমাজতত্ত্ববিদে সামগ্ৰিক উপলব্ধিৰ বাবে কল্পনাৰ সহায় লয় সততে। সেই কল্পনা বাস্তৱক নেওচা দিয়া কল্পনা নহয়, বৰং বাস্তৱক ঘনিষ্ঠভাৱে চিনি পোৱা কল্পনা। সকলো বৈজ্ঞানিক তত্ত্বৰ মূলতে থাকে এনে বাস্তৱ ভিত্তিক কল্পনা। Now this is interesting. He is talking about transcending the realities and imagining a future. But when you imagine the future, that has to be based on social realities, our day-to-day experience of life. Sahitya bostutunu ki? He has a very interesting dialogue, as is the case with Gandhi's Hind Swaraj, where Gandhi is talking to himself. Ghanta Karna Aru Kumbha Karnor Kothupokothan. I think many of us have read it. And in that particular Kothupokothan dialogue, he is taking up three important novels. Hiren Gohain's Hubala, Bina Borua's Jibonor Batot, Rasna Borua's Heuji Pator Kahini. And what he says, Sahitya bostutu প্ৰধানকৈ আবেগ অনুভূতিক লৈ, কিন্তু সাহিত্যৰ ৰস কিবা সাধাৰণ আবেগ অনুভূতিৰ জোকাৰ নেকি? কিতাপ পঢ়ি মানুহে শুকাই কান্দিলে কিতাপ নাইবা পাঠকৰ প্ৰতি মোৰ ভাল ধাৰণা নাথাকে। আবেগৰ ধুমুহাৰ মাজতো সাহিত্যই সৃষ্টি কৰে বোধৰ। I think this is important. Wisdom. বোধৰ ধ্যানৰ এক শান্তি। A piece of wisdom and meditation. Probably I'm not translating it properly. তাৰ বাবে অনুভূতি হ'ব লাগিব এই শান্তি যে হে অনুভৱ তাৰ বাবে অনুভূতি হ'ব লাগিব এই শান্তি যেটো সকলোৱে অনুভৱ কৰিব নোৱাৰে। সচৰাচৰ ব্যৱহাৰ কৰি থকা স্থূল আৰু সহজ আবেগ উঠি গোটেইখনকে পণ্ড নকৰে। সাহিত্য নিশ্চয় অনুভূতিৰ বস্তু, কিন্তু ইয়াৰ সাৰ্থক পৰিণাম উপলব্ধি, realization. সূৰুযমুখীৰ স্বপ্ন আমি সকলোৱে পঢ়িছোঁ, all of you read. So popular novel. Prof. Gohain was so critical about it. Said, জুলীয়া আবেশ যদি জীৱন বোধৰ নামান্তৰ, তেন্তে সাহিত্যৰ লগত মোৰ পৰিচয় হোৱা নাই। তদুপৰি এই সন্দেহ অমূলক নহয় যে উপন্যাসৰ প্ৰেৰণা কোনো অভিজ্ঞতা জড়িত ভিজন নহয়, কেতবোৰ তৰাং অংগী ভংগী ভাষাৰ কিছুমান উৱলি যোৱা কৃতিপ নহয়। কিতাপখনৰ নামাকৰণ যি he was telling that it's not only emotional outburst. The literature is to be based on the human experiences, social realities. Oghori Atmar Kahini jetia kotha, when he is talking about Oghori Atmar Kahini, he has said that it is one of the best gifts on the part of Sayyid Abdul Malik, because it is based on the experiences of human being. And it shows the tremendous potentialities of human liberation. I was mentioning about Hiren Gohain, Erabarir Binoni, Hiren Gohain Pitaputra. If you read it, I was thinking that he was only critical about it. No, he has talked about some important characters which have been so comprehensively and critically being portrayed by Hiren Gohain. But what he is critical about is the kind of uncertainty and anarchism that he has projected before us, that we don't have a definite hope for future. That is where Professor Gohain is critical about Hiren Gohain in Erabarir Binoni. But if you read Kuhilobo, his critique of Kuhilobo, that gives a different picture altogether. What I'm trying to suggest is this, that his literary criticism, which started in early 1960s, three of them, Hiren Gohain, Bhaben Borua, Lalit Chandra Borua, in the inauguration or release of the third volume of his collected writings, Lalit Chandra Borua was also present, and Hiren Gohain was also reflecting on their endeavor in 1960s in the world of literary criticism in Assam. He said that they were playing a role of a religious crusader, trying to bring about an earthquake in the world of literature in Assam so as to bring some qualitative transformation in understanding literature. And that continues. I think as a literary critic, he played a role of a public intellectual, looking at the present, imagining the future, a better future, where you have a balance between human survival and ecological sustainability. Now, all of we know Hiren Gohain mostly for his political writings. Now, it's not possible for me to reflect on very comprehensively on his political writings. These are so comprehensive. Assamese writings in the